Now I'm going to kind of break down the proper way to put this cartridge and set it in the machine. We'll use the Apollo for example, okay? The machine is decent. I love the Apollo, but it's only 2.3 millimeter stroke. Now, they originally designed it for SMP, but the problem is the stroke length is not optimal for SMP, even though everybody said it was, and I argued and argued. But you know what? The proof is in the work. Bottom line is, this stroke length is much better for PMU, shading type work. In fact, I love this for doing little intricate little line work, shading work, and hatching work. So this is a great machine. The Apollo is a great machine for doing eyebrows and stuff. So I don't like it for scalp micropigmentation. But just to show you how to adjust it properly, you put the cartridge in, clockwise, okay? And you're gonna adjust the collar, okay? You're gonna turn it, and you can click it on real quick and then stop it, okay? Then once you click the machine on, you cycle the machine, then hit the off on the machine, whether it's your foot pedal, whatever, or finger, and then see that the needle itself goes back in the tip enough. Now, if it doesn't, what you're gonna do is slide this back, just unscrew this until the needle comes just below the surface of the cartridge housing. And that's the proper adjustment when it comes to the cartridge in the machine. If you still have the needle sticking out, even at its base of the cycle, it's not gonna pick up pigment. That's the proper adjustment. You have to make sure that you properly adjust the needle to the cartridge in the machine every time you put the needle into the housing. Moving on to the Bishop wand. This Bishop wand was designed with 4.2 millimeter stroke. I love the stroke length. I love the fact that it's a longer stroke length, but this machine does get hung up with certain types of cartridges like the FYT pinks. In any case, this is my cartridge, my SMP needles that I'm showing you here. So you insert the cartridge into here, okay? Now this will come out a stroke length of 4.2 millimeters. It's much longer. It's on the longer side of the stroke lengths. And I'm going to discuss a little bit further why it's my favorite to have a 4 millimeter stroke length, but as we proceed further. So let me just describe this for instance. See, it's a little tougher to get the cartridges out, and it's not just mine, it's everybody's cartridge. This machine has a very, I think there's burrs in it or something. It's just the way they designed it. It's not as open as all these other type of machines. So what I will say about the Bishop wand, it's a great machine, but it's not wireless, and neither is the Apollo. It doesn't vibrate a whole hell of a lot, but there is some vibration to it. It's not as smooth as an FK Irons machine or a Micropigmentation machine. It's not. Let me just break that down to you. But it does have a great feel in the hand, and it's good for scalp micropigmentation. It's just a little more finicky on certain type of needle cartridges. You put the cartridge in again. Now you turn the grip, and you turn it, and then adjust it so the needle comes out appropriately. You want to make sure that when you start the machine, what you can do is run the machine again, adjust it so that the tip goes back inside the housing. You want to make sure it goes back inside the housing when it's running, so that it goes in back enough, at least call it half a millimeter to a millimeter in, enough for it to draw pigment up, okay? But again, that's how you adjust on every single machine. Run the machine and make sure that the needle goes back inside the housing. If not, you're not going to pick up pigment correctly. So 4.2 millimeter stroke means when this is running and the needle's still going back in the housing a bit, it's really going to be about 4.1 millimeter inside, you know what I mean, extending out. You always need a little bit going back in to pick up pigment. The SMP wand by Bishop is decent. They have a new wireless one once an attachment goes on. It tends to still be bigger and kind of not totally balanced evenly, but all in all, it's a decent machine, and I think their newer version of this is definitely better than this. The next machine here I'm going to talk about would be the Cheyenne Hawk Thunder, okay? This is a very powerful machine. When I say powerful, this machine, if you're not careful, you want to talk about blowouts. You can create them. This machine, again, you do the same thing. You run it, insert the cartridge, and adjust so that when it's on its down cycle, that the needle goes back inside the cartridge enough that it picks up pigment. Now, this is 4mm. This is one of the most powerful machines here on this table. If you're not careful, you could cause some damage. I don't generally use this for SMP. I can if it's, for backup. I do have a big hand, so it works out well for me. But I tend to use this machine for heavy shading on doing regular tattoo work. So again, it's not really the best machine for SMP, but you can use it if you need to. The next machine we're going to talk about here is the Cheyenne S. The Cheyenne S, again, is made by FK Irons, which is the division of FK Irons, which is Micropigmentation, which is the same thing their Apollo is, made by Micropigmentation. What makes the Cheyenne S really great and extremely versatile is, watch what happens. Unscrew the motor, and then we can take this cam off here, right? There's many different cam lengths that you can install on this to make this machine extremely versatile, okay? Right now I have a 3.7mm stroke in here because I was using for scalp micropigmentation the other day. It's a great machine. Again, it's super smooth. All FK Irons machines and Micropigmentation machines are, I have to say, they're the smoothest machines on the planet compared to every other machine, and I've used them all. I've used them all, trust me. This is can be all the way adjusted down to a short stroke, 2.3, 2.5. Again, great for PMU, great for SMP because it's totally adjustable. I do like the machine. It's wired. It's on the kind of heavier side, but it's a great backup all-around machine to have. Next here, we're going to talk about the Mast Archer. Now, there's been a lot of controversy about this machine because people rename it and utilize it for their, put their own name on it. Instead of me raining on somebody else's parade and trying to reinvent the wheel, I just get from them. The Mast Archer is a great machine. I will say this, it's not the smoothest when it comes to comparing it to Cheyenne S or an Apollo or an XO, but it is smoother than the Bishop wand. I will say that because I've used them both. And it's a great machine if you don't have all the money to spend on a high dollar machine. I can do work with this machine and outperform machines that are in the $1,000 range with this machine here. So it's a great machine. Don't underestimate it. I love the detent spring in this. So when you make your adjustments, you don't have to worry about your cartridge by mistake slightly rotating because there's no detent spring. And a lot of these other machines like this, no detent spring, see? So if there's no detent spring to hold it in place, so when you make your adjustment, you never know if it kind of starts rotating in your hand. Now you're going to come out of a different stroke like the penetration because of you changed your grip adjustment here. Again, this is 3.5mm stroke, which is the minimal of the optimal that I like. Okay, guys, my favorite machine, hands down, which is my go-to. It's like my Ferrari, the FK Irons EXO. Now, what makes the EXO great? What made it really great was I took the handle and measured my hand, and I literally modified this grip. This grip is not the standard grip that comes on the EXO. In fact, it's a modified grip that I took the liberty of modifying because to try to contact the manufacturer, they have to make a grip custom to me or to your specs. It's very, they're probably just gonna look at you like, who the hell are you? You're nobody, so let's, not make you happy. So I made myself happy in any case, and I modified this grip in a way that it's custom. And when I say custom, it fits the hand a certain way where everything here is in place, and you can see for SMP, this machine, nothing beats it hands down. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I use this 8 hours a day. And it's super smooth. Your hand doesn't get tired at the end of the day because there's no heavy vibration in it. And as you can see, it's a perfect shape machine for scalp micropigmentation. This is 4mm stroke. The batteries last a decent a length of time. I've only had one issue with one of their batteries I recently sent back. And actually the turnaround was much better than normal. The battery came back with some kind of blue light of death they call, and so now new battery came in, and it's great. You have a battery backup. I'm able to utilize it the whole 8 hours of the day if I need to. And again, it's balanced because I modified. Okay, if you look at it, it's perfectly balanced because I milled out the handle. Incredible machine and incredible results on most of all my work, which you guys see. And I'm about hyper realism all my work. And now, last but not least, okay, guys, these are my True Follicle SMP cartridges that I designed over the years, and these are the world's only 2RL cartridges made and designed by me, and I hold patent pending on these. So discussing these needles really quickly are basically two needles Siamese, okay? So these replicate a hair follicle much more detail-wise and accurately than a 3RL. Remember, 3RL, there's 3 pins. Now, if you really look at it, the hit 2 when you hit the skin, it's more of a bigger dot, okay? And the dot tends to migrate out. If somebody has excessively early skin, the dot will tend to migrate outward and tend to look more like a magic marker dot 6 months down the road. What's great about my needles is that when you hit the skin, if I put them in this cartridge, the machine, right? And the opening here is generally the way the needles are flat this way. So if I turn and I keep it like this, okay? Now I'm creating a hair follicle. When I say in line, meaning the hair follicle, just the way I hit it, it looks like a little stub, a little 2 millimeter stub instead of a dot. That's the difference between my needles and how they hit the skin. Every single hit looks like a hair follicle without having to move it or do any kind of haste movements where you cause more trauma to the skin. So that's what makes my needles much more beneficial and accurate when it comes to replication of hair follicles, and also they're texturized, so it doesn't take much. You lightly hit the skin, it leaves a nice impression. And again, I'm the only one that has these. And I will say this, there's no needle on the market that can compete with these needles and the way they hit the skin. As you can see from my work, and I post hundreds of high definition, high resolution close-up videos of my work. So you guys want to get yourself a box and try them out. I guarantee you'll love them. So my favorite machine, my favorite cartridge is my own. And any other questions, you guys feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.